In a small village, far from the big cities, a boy was born into a very poor family. His house was not made of bricks. It was made of mud and straw. When the rain came, water entered the house. When the sun was strong, the walls became weak. The boy's parents worked in the fields, but they did not own the land. They worked for others and earned very little money. Many days, they could only eat one simple meal. Sometimes it was only rice with salt, sometimes just bread and water. The boy grew up in this hard world. He did not have toys, he did not have shoes, he did not even have a bed of his own. But inside his heart, he had something very powerful. He had a dream. He wanted to change his life. He wanted to change his family's life. He wanted to show that even a poor boy could write his own destiny. The boy's father often came home tired. His hands were rough from working in the soil. His back hurt from carrying heavy loads. The mother also worked hard. She cooked, cleaned, and sometimes went to the market to sell vegetables. But still, the money was never enough. The boy watched them with sad eyes. He wished he could help more. He wished he could give them rest. But he was just a child. What could he do? At night, when everyone slept, he looked at the stars. He whispered to himself, "One day, I will study. One day, I will become someone. One day, my parents will not cry." These words were his secret promise. He did not tell anyone, because people might laugh at him. But inside, he carried that promise like a treasure. The village was small. There was only one school, and it was very old. The roof leaked, and the benches were broken. Some children did not go to school at all. They worked in the fields with their parents. Many villagers believed that school was not important. They said, "What will a poor boy do with books? He will still remain poor." But the boy thought differently. He believed that education was the only way to escape poverty. He believed that knowledge could open doors. He had seen rich people in the nearby town. They wore clean clothes, rode in cars, and spoke with respect. He wanted to be like them, not for pride, but to lift his family out of pain. Every morning, he walked to school with empty pockets but with a heart full of hope. But life was not easy. Many times, the boy went to school hungry. His stomach made noises during class. Other children laughed at him. His clothes were torn, and his shoes had holes. Some children pointed at him and said, "Look at the poor boy. He will never become anything." Their words hurt, but he stayed silent. He tried to listen to the teacher, even when his eyes were tired and his body was weak. Sometimes, he had no notebook or pencil. He wrote on old pieces of paper or on the ground with a stick. But still, he did not give up. He told himself, "One day, these same people will see who I really am. One day, I will show them that poverty cannot stop a strong heart." The days were long, and the nights were even longer. The boy's family had no electricity in their house. At night, the room was dark. How could he study? He found a way. He walked to the street lamp near the market. There, he sat on the ground and opened his books. People passed by and looked at him. Some shook their heads and laughed. Others said, "This boy is strange. Why is he wasting time?" But he ignored them. He sat under the yellow light, reading page after page. Sometimes, mosquitoes bit him. Sometimes, the cold wind made him shiver. But he did not move. He kept studying. Because in his heart, he knew, this light was not only from the lamp. It was also the light of his dream, the light of his destiny. Every day, the boy faced new struggles. His family had no money for new clothes, so he wore the same shirt again and again. When it tore, his mother stitched it carefully, but the marks showed. During the cold months, he had no warm sweater. He wrapped himself in an old blanket and walked to school. When it rained, water filled the road, and his feet got muddy. Still, he kept walking. Some villagers looked at him and whispered, "This boy is wasting his time. He should help his father in the fields." But he remembered his secret promise under the stars. He whispered back in his heart, "I will not stop. Books are my path. Learning is my weapon. My dream is bigger than my hunger, my pain, and my torn clothes." Many children in the village laughed at him. They called him "beggar boy" because he often borrowed things. Sometimes, he asked for old notebooks from his classmates. Sometimes, he borrowed pens that were almost empty. Even then, some children refused. They said, "Why give him a pen? He will never pass exams." These words cut him deeply. He went home and cried on his small mat. His mother saw him once and held his hand. She said softly, "Do not listen to them. You are different. If you keep learning, you will fly higher than anyone." Her words gave him courage. That night, he wrote in his old notebook, "People may laugh at me today, but one day, they will respect me." Slowly, small signs of hope began to appear. One day, his teacher noticed him sitting in the corner of the class, writing with great focus. The teacher asked, "Why do you sit so quietly?" The boy answered, "Sir, I want to learn everything. I want to change my life." The teacher looked into his eyes and saw something unusual: fire, strength, and honesty. From that day, the teacher gave him extra attention. Sometimes, the teacher gave him old books from his own shelf. Sometimes, he explained lessons after class when the boy did not understand. These small acts of kindness were like gold for the boy. He treasured every word, every book, every chance. Other kind people also appeared. An old shopkeeper once saw the boy reading under the streetlight. He felt pity and respect. The next day, he gave the boy a broken stool and said, "Sit on this, child. Do not study on the cold ground." The boy's eyes filled with tears. A farmer gave him an old umbrella so he could walk to school in the rain. A neighbor gave him a half-used notebook. These were small gifts, but for the boy, they were treasures. He learned something important: even in a hard world, there are kind hearts. And when people see true effort, they come forward to help, even in little ways. With these small supports, the boy grew stronger inside. He began to study harder. He read every page again and again until he understood. He asked questions to his teachers without fear. He learned to believe that his dream was not impossible. One evening, under the streetlight, he wrote in his notebook, "I am poor, but I am not weak. I have nothing, but I have my dream. And my dream will carry me to a new life." These words became his prayer, his motivation, and his daily strength. He began to feel that destiny was not something given. Destiny was something he could create with his own hands. The boy's hard work began to show results. In class, he answered questions with confidence. Some teachers praised him, and a few students stopped laughing at him. But the journey was not smooth. When the final exams came, he tried his best, but he failed in 2 subjects. His heart broke. He walked home with heavy steps. Villagers saw him and whispered, "We told you. Books are not for poor children. He will end up in the fields like his father." Their words stabbed him like knives. At night, he cried under his thin blanket. He felt ashamed to face his parents, who had sacrificed so much for his studies. His mother, however, did not scold him. She placed her hand on his head and said, "Do not fear failure. It is part of learning. What matters is that you rise again." But the boy was not easily comforted. In his notebook, he wrote with shaking hands, "I failed today, but this is not the end. I will not let failure decide my future. I will write my destiny with my own pen." These words became a vow. Even though his eyes were full of tears, his heart began to burn again with determination. He decided to fight back, harder than ever. The next day, he returned to school. Some children mocked him, saying, "Look, the poor boy failed. All his hard work was useless." He listened silently, but inside, he spoke to himself, "Yes, I failed. But this is not the last chapter of my story. This is only the beginning." He studied with renewed strength. He did not just read the lessons, he tried to understand them deeply. He practiced writing, solving, and repeating until his mind was sharp. Failure, instead of crushing him, became his teacher. Still, the journey was painful. There were days when he felt hopeless. He looked at his torn books and wondered if all his effort was in vain. Sometimes, he envied the rich children in the town, who had good schools, tutors, and libraries. He thought, "Why was I born poor? Why is life so unfair?" But then he remembered his promise under the stars. He remembered his mother's words. Slowly, he began to see that his pain was shaping him. Poverty was not his prison, it was his training ground. Each hunger, each insult, each failure was building his inner strength. One evening, after a very hard day, he sat again under the streetlight. His eyes were tired, and his hands were cold. He wanted to give up. But then he opened his notebook and saw his own handwriting, "I will write my destiny." He stared at those words for a long time. Suddenly, something changed inside him. He realized that destiny was not a gift given by others. It was not written in the stars. Destiny was written by action, by courage, by never giving up. That night became a turning point in his life. The turning point grew stronger when a new teacher came to his school. This teacher was different. He spoke with kindness but also with power. He told the children stories of great leaders, scientists, and writers who were once poor. He said, "Poverty is not a chain. It is a challenge. If you face it, you can rise higher than anyone." The boy listened with shining eyes. For the first time, he felt that someone understood him, someone believed in him. After class, the boy gathered courage and spoke to the teacher. He said, "Sir, I want to study, but I am poor. People laugh at me. Sometimes, even my hope becomes weak. What should I do?" The teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Never stop believing in your dream. Work harder than anyone. And remember, destiny is not written for you. You are the writer of your own story." These words entered the boy's heart like light. He carried them like a seed of power. From that day, he changed his routine. He woke up before sunrise to study when the world was still quiet. He read his books again at night under the street lamp. He also started doing small jobs in the village. He carried water for people, cleaned shops, and helped in the fields. The coins he earned, he saved carefully. With them, he bought pencils, notebooks, and sometimes a little food for his family. His life was full of struggle, but also full of purpose. Hunger did not leave him. Loneliness often sat beside him. Doubt sometimes whispered in his ear. But each time, he pushed forward. He told himself, "I am stronger than my pain. My dream is bigger than my fear." Step by step, he began to improve in his studies. Teachers noticed his progress. Some villagers began to respect him quietly, though many still doubted. But he was no longer living for their words. He was living for his dream, for his parents, and for the destiny he was writing. One night, after finishing his work and studies, he sat under the streetlight again. He looked at the sky full of stars. Instead of sadness, he felt hope. He whispered, "I may be poor, but I am not powerless. I may be hungry, but I am not empty. My hands may be weak, but my heart is strong. One day, the world will know my name." These words were not just dreams anymore. They were his decision. He had crossed the line from wishing to working, from hoping to creating. The climb had truly begun. The climb was not easy. Each morning, the boy woke up before sunrise. He washed his face with cold water, took his books, and studied while others still slept. During the day, he worked small jobs to earn coins. In the evening, he went to school. At night, he studied again under the streetlight. Sometimes his eyes burned with tiredness, but he refused to stop. He told himself, every page I read is a step. Every line I write is a stone on the road to my dream. His life was full of sacrifice, but every sacrifice was like a seed for his future. Many times, he felt like falling. His stomach hurt from hunger. His feet hurt from walking long distances. His back hurt from carrying heavy loads. Yet, each pain became his training. He learned to endure. He learned to be patient. He learned to fight. When doubts came, he remembered his mother's gentle words and his teacher's powerful advice. He repeated them in his heart, "You are the writer of your own story." Those words became his shield, protecting him from fear. Slowly, his hard work brought results. In the next exam, he passed with good marks. For the first time, he saw his name near the top of the list. His teachers praised him in front of the class. Some children who once laughed at him now looked at him with respect. The boy smiled, but not with pride. He smiled with gratitude. He knew that this was only the first step. He still had a long climb ahead. But now, he had proof that his dream was possible. The big test came when a scholarship exam was announced in the district town. If he passed, he would receive money to continue his studies. It was his golden chance. He prepared day and night. He solved old question papers, asked teachers for guidance, and revised until his fingers hurt. On the day of the exam, he wore his cleanest but still torn shirt. He entered the hall with shaking hands, but with a heart full of courage. He remembered his promise under the stars. "I will write my destiny." And he wrote with all his strength. Weeks later, the results were announced. The boy's heart beat fast as he looked at the notice board. His eyes searched the list again and again. Then he saw it, his name, shining in the top ranks. He had won the scholarship. Tears rolled down his cheeks. For the first time in his life, he cried not from pain, but from joy. He ran home and showed the paper to his parents. His father, who rarely smiled, had tears in his eyes. His mother hugged him tightly and whispered, "I told you, one day you will fly." News spread in the village. The same people who once laughed at him now said, "This boy is special. He will go far." Some felt ashamed for their cruel words. Others came to congratulate his parents. The boy remained humble. He knew that respect from others was not the real victory. The real victory was that he had defeated his fear, his hunger, his failure. He had proved to himself that nothing is impossible when the heart is strong. With the scholarship, he continued his studies in the town. Life there was still not easy. He was surrounded by richer students, and sometimes he felt out of place. But he reminded himself that he had walked a much harder path already. He studied with even more focus. His teachers in the town also noticed his determination. Step by step, he built his knowledge, his confidence, and his future. Each exam he passed, each book he completed, was another line written in his destiny. Years later, he looked back at his journey. He remembered the hunger, the torn clothes, the streetlight, and the cruel laughter of people. He also remembered the kindness of his teachers, the shopkeeper, the farmer, and his mother's endless support. All these pieces had shaped him. He realized that every struggle was not a punishment, but a lesson. Without poverty, he would not have learned patience. Without failure, he would not have learned courage. Without pain, he would not have built strength. His story was made of both tears and hope. He often shared his story with other children. He told them, "Do not fear if you are poor. Do not cry if people laugh at you. Do not stop if you fall. Remember, you are not born with destiny. You create it with your hands, your mind, and your heart. I was a poor boy with nothing, but I wrote my future. You can do it too. His words inspired many. Young boys and girls began to dream bigger because they saw in him a living example that dreams can come true. And so, the boy who was once laughed at became a man respected by many. His journey proved that courage is stronger than hunger, that hope is brighter than darkness, and that hard work can break every chain of poverty. His life was a message, not just for his village, but for the world. No matter how poor you are, with courage, patience, and hard work, you can write your own destiny. And with that, his story became not only his own, but also a guiding light for all who dared to dream.